Not a matter of if, but when crisis will rock your world. I'm Roshini Rajkumar, crisis strategist, licensed attorney, and host of The Crisis Files. In each case file, we unpack hot topics with people in the know. Whether you like it or hate it, it's not going anywhere. Artificial intelligence is seemingly taking over the world. The Crisis Files entertainment contributor Paul McGuire-Grimes is here for a reality check. Paul is an entertainment reporter and film critic. He's here for the case file I call Meet Your AI. We've heard of lookalikes, Paul, but now there's sound-alikes, voice-alikes, even beyond, forcing Hollywood actors to become trailblazers of sorts. I'm thinking there might be some lessons for all of us here.
There could be some lessons. I mean, I think what we need to have a critical eye on is the world of AI and not being duped by it. Like, I'm seeing so many people being duped by AI. So let's talk about like how high profile people in the industry are either using AI to their advantage or using it as we need to be cautious of what we believe is actually us. So if you think about someone like Matthew McConaughey, he's been in the news recently because he is trying to get ahead of this and how actors use AI and kind of is trademarking his phrase, all right, from his groundbreaking film Dazed and Confused, that everyone knows him for that phrase, right?
I mean, we say it ourselves now.
Yeah, we do. Like, it's become such a part of the lexicon. Even if you've never have seen that movie, you know Matthew McConaughey, you know that phrase. So he's become the first actor to use trademark law to use that as part of, to kind of protect himself from AI misuse. So he's partnered with a company called, I can't remember the name of it now, but he's partnered with a company to license that, so he doesn't get into trouble.
Iconic Marketplace, is that it? Iconic
yes.
Marketplace. He and Michael Caine are jumping in on this. And they're actually trying to make money of their own name instead of other people using it without permission and some other person or people or groups making money.
Because if you think about it, like if you have an online presence or if you're in the media or the public space, your images, your videos, your sound is all out there somewhere that someone could grab onto. So if someone didn't want to pay Matthew McConaughey for his use of that phrase or his voice or his image, they could try to use an AI video, alter it a bit to make it seem original. But then the average person is thinking, oh, that's Matthew McConaughey saying, all right. Maybe endorsing a product, maybe endorsing a candidate for political office. And that might make Matthew McConaughey look really bad, depending on what it is being used for. And then you have Michael Caine, who is essentially retired from acting right now, but he's partnered with 11 Labs and this Iconic Marketplace to use some of his work, his voice. He's got a very iconic
He has an iconic voice. And, if you remember the Bond films, I mean, he goes way back. So many movies that we think of him, Miss Congeniality. I mean, just a lot of amazing roles, and people might want to misuse his name and likeness.
Yeah. So how can they get ahead by saying, okay, you can maybe use some of these phrases, or here's some of the words I will give you. And then a company could maybe partner with 11 Labs to meet in the middle, if you will. That's kind of an easier way to think about this. How can the actor or the public person, the company, use things to kind of meet in the middle so that there is an AI element without it being misused, so that Michael Caine, Matthew McConaughey are getting paid appropriately. And it's still real. It's not fake, but it's a better use of AI. And then you have someone like Scarlett Johansson. If you remember a few years ago, she made a movie called Her with
It was a
Joaquin
great
Phoenix.
movie, trailblazing at the time.
Yes, because she was a voice of an operating system, much like an Alexa, and the Joaquin Phoenix character was basically falling in love with this operating system. And now a chat box, OpenAI, was basically using her voice or someone that sounded like Scarlett Johansson to mimic kind of what that movie was doing. And she's like, no, you cannot use my voice to do this OpenAI chatbot.
And really,
thing.
is suing them.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with, Zoe Saldana. They're the two highest paid actresses in the industry. They've made the most money in the industry. And they're trying to get ahead of this as well to say, you cannot use my voice, my likeness, for things like that. And I get it. I mean, if you and I have talked a lot during the SAG after strike that we talked about, where they were looking at AI protections within the clauses, and now we're seeing AI actresses being made. There's a actress, I use that term very loosely because that's what they're calling her, named Tilly Norwood, to appear in movies or commercials because she looks real and to the
She's, I don't know if bot is the right term, but she's fake. I mean, it's not real. And this is
yes.
happening in music where manufactured voices are coming together to be a song that then actually could go on and
It's
win an
like
award.
Yeah, it's like one of the top country songs right now is an AI generated song.
Wow.
It's alarming to me because I hate AI. I try never to use it in my real life. I've done ChatGPT like once to make a graphic, and that's about it. It just is something I don't do. And you've got people in the industry, some love it, some hate it. I don't know if you saw the movie Marty Supreme. It's a new Timothy Chalamet movie, but Kevin O'Leary, who is on Shark Tank, he's a big businessman on the show Shark Tank. He appears in the movie playing a businessman married to Gwyneth Paltrow's character, and he's talks about how the movie cost a ton of money because they paid and they had to cast all these background actors for all these ping pong scenes and other scenes. And he's like, why didn't we use AI to save a ton of money and just make AI characters in the background for background
And
shots?
this is
And
something you and I talked about during the Hollywood actors strike and how
yeah,
actors would, I mean, you're putting a lot of people out of business if you do something like
yeah.
that.
And even beginner actors that might want to take that background job just to get their foot in the door, just to meet someone, that's a valuable thing. And there's aliveness there. There's a tangible quality about seeing an actor in the bleachers of a stand. And you can see this with special effects. I mean, if you pull it back even farther to special effects, you can see when actors are walking around on a real set piece or they're walking around New Zealand filming Lord of the Rings because you see that tangible
It
grass.
feels human. It feels
Feels
real.
human. It looks real. Emotions are real. But when you're using AI or you're walking around a green screen set, it looks fake. You see actors that don't really quite know where their marks are, trying to figure it out, and it loses that magic, if you will. It loses that tangible realness
Paul,
when
we
it's just
know that you're not a huge fan of a lot of the uses lately, modern
yeah.
uses of AI. Is there ever a really good use of AI in
I
your
think it
work
depends.
and what you're watching?
Like I created a graphic for my use as a film critic. I just created like a ticket stub graphic. I think that is I'm using it. I'm not selling it to anyone
It's
else.
not
It's a very
really
simple
hurting
thing.
anybody,
I'm
taking
not
away from
hurting
someone's
anyone.
livelihood.
I'm not copying someone else's work, if you will. That is kind of innocent to me. I saw a lot of people around Christmas time doing kind of AI generated Christmas cards, and I can understand why I would never choose that for myself. But I can understand why people maybe wanted to save some money from going to a professional photographer, creating a fun little image of their family, like in the snow. I think there's something kind of innocent about that, and that's not hurting anyone. I think what gets harder is when people see graphics, posters online and they think it's real. I've seen posters for Hocus Pocus 3, Sister Act 3, a live action Fern Gully, Coda 2, Rhythm of the Soul, and people think that these are real movies coming up because
And
they see a
it's
poster.
just not true. I mean,
It's not
it's
true.
fake.
It's literally fake. Or I've seen concert promos with like a Cher, Reba, Dolly Parton tour that's coming. I'm like, this is not real. Like they are not joining together for like a reunion tour, and yet people
And
see
yet,
it.
how fun would that be if they did?
It,
But
it'd be
like,
great. I would love
right?
it. It would be amazing. But we don't have this discerning eye right now because AI is getting so good at making things look real that people just see it and believe it. And it's one thing to like have a Christmas card. Okay, that's innocent. But people are using it in politics, and the White House is using it. So when you hear things about fake news, if you hear the Trump administration decrying fake news, and you see that they're sharing AI generated images on their own social media, they're playing into their own hand with fake news. And here's two examples of this. Recently, Nakima Levy Armstrong was arrested after the church protest here in Minneapolis. There was a photo taken of her after that arrest. But what the White House shared on their social media accounts, the White House's social media accounts, was an image that they digitally altered using AI to make her skin darker and to make her look like she was just dramatically crying all over the place. That's one image.
Yeah, and that, I
Another,
mean, I just jumped to the law for a moment because I always find some sort of balance in the law and hopefully neutrality in the law. That is wrong. If they did
yes.
that, that is actually actionable. That is wrong. I mean, she is a public figure, so there are some things that a public figure can't really take to the court that a private citizen could. But at the same time, when something is truly just not the case, if it's inaccurate, false, those things have protection in the law. And that's what I hope crisis filers will remember.
Yeah, there's a picture of Hakeem Jeffries that they shared recently and they gave him this handlebar mustache. They put a sombrero on him. So it's like you're just creating these like racist images and views of people and sharing it on your White House page. So you're creating this distrust, or you're saying to people, we should be able to trust what's coming out of the White House in terms of social media, messaging, branding. But if your branding is literally fake news and people don't realize that, that's really dangerous.
So what does this say about just everybody in general? Okay, because the social media train has left the station. That is not going back in. So now it's, how do we put in guardrails? I mean, I applaud Australia, the limitations that, first in the world as the new year was coming, 2026, to say for certain age bracket, you just can't even be on social media. So there's certain things that are actually banned. I don't see all out bans being effective or even possible in the United States and in a lot of places in the world. But there can be guardrails. A lot of it starts with parents. If possible, that you put in your own. I know I had some Australian best friends visiting over the holidays, and they limit screen time of any screen to 30 minutes a day for their 7 and 9-year-olds. That's it. Whether it's TV, the phone, texting, computer, that's it. So it does take for adults and people who want to protect children and others to set some rules, but I also have to be a more educated consumer. I'm an adult. I can't, just because I see Oprah selling a product, which a lot of times that's fake Oprah, by the way, because I'll watch those videos and it's at higher speed. She doesn't talk like that, or there's something that isn't really right. That is obviously altered. And so more people need to be discerning.
Yeah, and it's like and this is where I struggle too, because I'm like, I don't want to call you out on using AI or believing in something fake, because that just makes me look like I'm better than you in a way, or like I'm calling out maybe you being uneducated. And that's not the angle I want to take with that. But we have to be smarter about, like, what does the video look like? Does this person have 6 fingers? Is their head chopped off somehow? Is there a third leg? And
Common
we're joking
sense.
about that. But there's common sense things that when you see some videos, you're like, that doesn't look real. And I say that because, one of the images I saw recently too was after Renee Good was killed, there was an image going around of downtown Minneapolis, and it was flooded with protesters. And it was like, this is Minneapolis, this is our community. And like, while the sentiment is obviously true, and we did see that later on, but that whole image
was not real.
AI. Was not real. And you could tell that because if you actually look at like the buildings and the landmarks, they weren't correct for what downtown looks like. So you instead of just seeing something and sharing it right away, you have to look at it to see that does make sense. Is that real? That doesn't even look like that person's face, or that,
because the flip side of this,
mistakes,
and why this is such an important topic and why we cover it on the Crisis Files is, how can we prevent the bad case scenarios there? How can we prevent the crisis if that ends up being you that's altered and, maybe clothes are removed and then an image circulates and that's really not your naked body? I mean, there's so many umpteen examples I can give, but it really starts with each of us individually. If you notice on whatever platforms you use that someone else's handle is putting out these fake images, or is altering celebrities, or is even altering your neighbor's image, you got to report that to the platform and maybe unfollow that platform.
Yes, yeah. And maybe if it's a platform that isn't working for you anymore, get rid of it. Like if you think Facebook is trash, get rid of it. Or if you think Instagram is like, get rid of it. Like have more of a guardrail on yourself. Check your settings. If you got private on a lot of things, if you don't allow any, like if you need to approve of anyone that follows you, do that. I have a lot of
There
my
are
social
things
media.
like that in place. I don't think people realize it all the time.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because you sign up for maybe Instagram or Facebook and everything is public and everything gets shared back with Meta. So you can go into the settings and be like friends only, contacts only, this group only, you know, as just a way to protect yourself from people like that. I've seen other people, like my friends' accounts, get copied. And then, of course, it's then, oh, so and so made an OnlyFans. I'm like, you didn't make an OnlyFans. I know this about you, but this page says you
I'm
did.
just
So
going to
then
say
you
it
have to
right
report
here
that.
with you, Paul. I will never have an OnlyFans page for
I will
multiple
not either.
reasons. So if you
Right.
ever see
Yeah.
me or Paul, it's not us.
It's not us. And I have nothing
Not
against
us.
OnlyFans. This is not shaming OnlyFans content creators because that is a growing business. But to protect myself, I'm not going to do it for many reasons. But yeah, it's a
So,
it's a real
I
thing.
mean, these are real issues. We can have some fun and some laughter about it
Mhm.
because you otherwise you go a little crazy. But
Yes.
really it's about protecting yourself, your family if you have a family, your community, and be discerning from the get-go. Not everyone's Matthew McConaughey and has that iconic line, one of the best lines ever. And how smart of Matthew McConaughey to say,
Yeah.
how can I turn this into my favor? Because if you know, I mean, just the threat of a lawsuit, now that he's protecting that line and other of his phrases as well as images, and if you even get wind of that, I think it's a deterrent factor. The bad actors
Yes.
out there, hopefully less and less will then do that kind of activity. So it does take the high profile people to set some of those lines in the sand, protecting themselves, and it gives lessons for the rest of us.
And I was having a conversation with someone recently. I've had a lot of crucial conversations, as we like to call them, about what's been going on in Minneapolis. And one of the sentiments in this conversation was, I don't know who to trust. I don't know if I can trust the news. I don't know if I can trust the White House. I don't know if there's images and videos that I can trust anymore because everything can be altered and changed. And I said, well, who do you trust in life? And I don't mean that like
Good
in a
question.
negative. But let's say if you, Rashini, came across an image of like Matthew McConaughey or so and so a friend of ours, and you were like, is this real? Then turn to someone that you trust and be like, hey, did you see so and so post this? Is this real? Or maybe you've got a parent that you see is like, oh God, they share everything on Facebook. Maybe that parent could come to me or come to someone and say, hey, can you validate if this is true? Can you validate if this is a real image going around? Because I can't tell. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable and say, hey, is this AI? I don't want to share it if this isn't real. And then maybe you or I or whoever's in your life can corroborate and say, yep, that's a real image that was taken
And
from this
even
place.
sharing, I mean, you bring up a great point. There are times, I mean, this happened in 2025 where a picture that I was in, that it was a very innocent picture from an event I had emceed, had someone in it that was under investigation. And
Yeah.
someone who was an opponent of that person included that picture to spread some other things that weren't great. I had no idea, except for I had a couple friends who were on the list. They got this mailing and they said, did you know your picture is on here? So it also, like, if you know people and you see images that are questionable, text them, message them, let them know that this is out there. And sometimes they don't even know.
And don't be afraid if you feel like someone in your life is questionable. And maybe this is just something like in our life, but like if someone is questionable or if you feel like maybe that contact isn't, don't be afraid to have boundaries. That's the bigger thing I think so many of us are thinking about right now is having boundaries on who we spend our time with, who we trust, relate to, and that
And
could
what
come into
platforms we follow. I mean, it
and what
really is
platforms.
huge,
Yeah.
and less is more on that. I mean, if
Yes.
I didn't have the Crisis Files, I wouldn't be on as many social media platforms. It's partly to grow the show. We have great guests like Paul that come on. We want to share what they're saying, so we are on many, but not all of the
Right.
platforms. So
I
it is
don't use
important.
X anymore because I don't believe in, well, I don't trust Elon Musk. I don't like him. Our values are not aligned. So I'm not going to support Elon Musk and X. I know though that will hurt my social media following in terms of how the entertainment industry looks at social media for how they're going about the industry right now and followers and content creators, influencers, and boosting that up. I'd probably get more if I kept up with X because I had a good following over there, but that does not align with my values. So like while we first started talking about AI, we are seeing how all of
It's
these circles
dynamic.
and it's dynamic and there's a lot of nuance to how all these different pieces kind of fall into this puzzle.
A lot of things come down to personal choice. There are laws that protect a lot of these choices, and some areas are new and they're evolving. And so we do also have to show each other and others, even strangers, we have to show grace. But first and foremost, I always like to say, let's start with myself. How can I discern? And Paul's advice is great. What are the guardrails you need in place to have a little more wellness and sanity in your own life? Well, as always, Paul, we have such a colorful conversation about some really hot topics. Check out Paul's movie reviews, plus insider nuggets at paulstriptothemovies.com and Paul's YouTube channel. Today's case file is powered by Petal and Stem. Known as an aging architect, Dr. Deepa Pai focuses on elevating the standard of care in the medical aesthetics industry. Clients from all over the United States visit Dr. Pai for her customized offerings. Petal and Stem is one of the only med spas in the U.S. to use a hospital-grade ultrasound machine. For a customized skin treatment journey, and to see why Dr. Pai and team have clients getting on a plane for their expertise, go to petalstemmmedspa.com. Rate, review, and subscribe to The Crisis Files on your platform of choice. Follow us on YouTube and Instagram at The Crisis Files. Visit thecrisisfiles.com for all 4 seasons of the show. I'm Roshini Rajkumar. Join me next time on The Crisis Files.